and welcome everyone. I am Ruchi Dwivedi, your podcast host from SheSight magazine. SheSight is a premier digital magazine dedicated to celebrating and empowering women from all walks of life. To learn more about it, please visit shesightmag.com. To our guests and audience members, let me have the honor of introducing Keitha Nelson-Williams to you. Keitha Nelson-Williams is more than an anchor. She is actually a storyteller and a host, weaving narratives that captivate and resonate with audiences. With 19 years of experience in broadcast journalism, Keitha has earned trust as a reliable voice, delivering news that matters. Currently serving as a news anchor for Good Morning Jacksonville on First Coast News, Keitha brings her award-winning expertise to the River City's NBC and ABC affiliate, delivering impactful and engaging stories every morning. Once again, a very welcome to you, Keitha. Thank you for joining us today and talking to us. We will start with our first question, which is about your career. Your career in broadcast journalism spans over, 2 decades, during which you've garnered numerous accolades. Can you share a pivotal moment with us of your story from the journey that has significantly shaped your approach to storytelling and reporting?
So transparency, I have always known that was incredibly important in journalism, but I learned that it kind of like hit me in the face. I'm going to say it just like that. It hit me in the face during my IVF journey. So about 5 years ago, I chose to publicly share my infertility struggles that I had. My husband and I had been trying to conceive for about 6-7 years. We were trying to have a child, and it was incredibly difficult. And I knew something was wrong. I knew something was wrong deep down inside, but I was afraid to get the truth, the answer, right? A journalist not wanting the truth. It was about myself, so it was difficult. But we went through some testing, found out that I had endometriosis, and that was causing some issues with fertility. So we had to go through the in vitro fertilization process, which, can be taxing, both financially as well as emotionally. It was a lot to go through. And I remember feeling so dark, so alone, so unworthy during that time. But something told me to document it. I documented the darkest times, the happiest times throughout that journey. And I'm so glad that I had the courage to be vulnerable enough to share that story with our viewers on First Coast News. It was a 6-part series, both on air and online on YouTube. We shared it, and on Good Morning Jacksonville. And there were times when I cried. I was really vulnerable, and that's difficult as a journalist because we're taught to remove ourselves from stories. You report the facts, keep it simple, what people need to know. But this felt different. I knew that I was suffering, and I did not want to suffer in silence because there were so many other women I know going through the same exact thing and doing so, again, in silence, afraid to be open about it. But I chose to share the story, and the response was overwhelming. Oh my word, I got so many emails and messages and phone calls and texts from people saying, Keitha, I'm going through the exact same thing. And these are some people that were pretty close associates, and I had no idea they were going through the same thing. So there were so many people, so many women who were afraid to speak up about it, because it can be, some would look at it as perhaps a shameful thing, embarrassing. But I'm so glad, again, that I shared that publicly, because it let me know that, one, I wasn't alone. Let other people know, let our viewers know, women who are struggling with that they too are not alone. And again, the response was just amazing. I mean, I actually got calls from people who said they went through the same thing I did, went to the same fertility doctor, and they now have a child. So to know that I, helped in such a profound way, that means everything to me. So that helped to shape me as a journalist, that story, that series, because I realized it's important at times to be vulnerable and transparent with your viewers.
Of course. No, thank you for sharing that with us here as well. How do you believe media platforms can better address women's health issues?
So again, it's like something that's a bit taboo. You don't want to get into detail about what's going on with your body, especially if it's something that you feel is you're deficient in, correct? So it's it's one thing to actually recognize that there are problems, and another to be courageous enough to share these stories. And I'm taking myself out of the equation. I'm just talking about in general, because there
Mhm.
are a lot of health disparities when it comes to African American women in particular, that we don't often talk about. But I believe it's our job as journalists to at times make people uncomfortable speaking about things that, again, make folks uncomfortable, but they need to be addressed. They need to be brought to the forefront. And so the way to do that is one, I think it starts with us as journalists to recognize the problem and
Mhm.
being courageous enough to help share these stories.
Right, right. Do you see the role of journalists evolving in driving positive social change in the more recent years? Do you think that people are journalists as a as professionals are doing what they can to address some of these issues?
So I can't even say recent years. It's from since, this all started with the Walter
Mhm.
Cronkite, the Robert Walters. That has always been our job, I
Mhm.
feel, is to push for change in certain arenas. And again, we have to be very cautious about that, because you don't want to be an advocate for certain things, but you do want to put forth the facts, letting people know this is an issue. You
Mhm.
take a stance, whatever you feel is the way to go, left or right, but we do have to at least address the problem, letting people know that there is a problem. So yeah, definitely journalists have always, been at the forefront when it comes to social change. When you look back at older videos, what did I recently watch? I recently watched the movie on the March on Selma. And there were journalists covering that, as they walked across the bridge, and then Martin Luther King, getting beat up by officers at the time. Those journalists were brave enough to cover that. So from the very beginning, the beginning of
Mhm.
time, yeah, we've been a part of social justice, and we just have to be a little more tactful about it. You just have to be smart about things, but letting people know the issue, the problem, that's where it all starts, and that's our job.
That's true. That's true. And, from Hurricane Katrina coverage to your most recent work on endometriosis awareness, you've covered a wide array of topics throughout your career. Is there a particular story or subject matter that you feel most passionate about?
Um, See, here's the thing. What I love about what we do is that it's not mundane, right? Every day you get to learn something new if you're doing this right, right? You get
Mhm.
to explore different avenues. You're exposed to things that you normally wouldn't be, or the average viewer isn't. And so it's to me, that's what I love about this job. So I try not to get boxed into any one particular type of story, or yeah, I try to learn every day, because that helps me. It feeds me as not just a journalist, but as an individual, to be able to learn about different people, different experiences, and to
Mhm.
share them with you, our viewers.
Of course, of course. And you enjoy it all at the same time.
Some more than
Absolutely.
others, because sometimes it's just like, whoa, I'm worn out.
As an experienced journalist, you've likely encountered several challenges, of course, and had triumphs in your career. Um, how do you stay motivated and inspired amidst the ever changing landscape of media and news reporting?
Well, ever changing is the ideal word, because it is, but it's not just media. I think it's all fields, all businesses, all across the board. Things are changing rapidly right now. After COVID, we saw a lot of things changing. You speak with business owners, they'll tell you how difficult it is to find employees. People are finding different ways to make a living. For me personally, though, in this particular business, I have noticed a lot of us going towards online, right? You have to meet your viewers where they are. You're seeing a lot more podcasts, a
Mhm.
lot more streaming. Our web department is growing as well, because it's so important again to meet people where they are. For us, I remember a time when social media wasn't a thing. It's been
Mhm.
almost 20 years for me. August will make 20 years I've been in this business, and it's been so interesting to watch. Twitter, now X, YouTube, not YouTube, Facebook, Instagram,
Mhm.
watching people using these social media sources as things in our toolbox, things that we can use to help report. It's very interesting to me, but it's all about ebbs and flow. You have to learn to change with the landscape. You have to learn to grow. That's
Mhm.
really what life is all about. Things are going to constantly change. You just have to learn to go with the flow. And I've been enjoying it. I don't know if that answered that question, but you kind of took me, in
Yeah.
a different direction thinking about that.
No, that's totally fine. Absolutely. Are there some challenges that you want to talk about that you have encountered and overcome, in your professional life where you wanted to report on a story and then there was of course a learning with it that came, that groomed you as a professional?
Learning curves all day, every day.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, if you want to get personal, so I anchor a morning show here in Jacksonville, Florida, called Good Morning
Hmm.
Jacksonville for First Coast News. It's the NBC ABC affiliate, and our mornings start very early. I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, get to work by supposed to be 4 o'clock, a little later sometimes. You know, and then the show starts at 4:30. Your day ends at about 1 o'clock. I have children. I have small. Oh, by the way, so we spoke about my IVF journey. I did have
Hmm.
children. I have twins, by the way, now.
Wonderful.
Trey and
Congratulations.
Thank you, Trey and Journey. They're going to be 5 at the end of May. So
Hmm.
raising small children in this business, it gets hectic, but it's not just this business. I'm sure everyone has their own challenges they face. But yeah, the early mornings, that
Hmm. That's a
can be a
challenge.
challenge, but it is, especially with the little ones. But you learn to make it work. You learn to make everything work. In terms of story coverage, there's been so many things that have been profound. But I can tell you, I can go all the way back to
Mhm.
when I first started in the business. I don't know. It was one of my first reporting jobs. I was in Biloxi, Mississippi. Oh, well, I remember the date now because his Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005, and
Mhm.
I tend to share this story when I speak with students, when I go into schools, because everyone has a moment in life that kind of makes you realize, oh my gosh, I'm in love with this, or this
Mhm.
is not for me. And
Mhm.
for me, covering Hurricane Katrina in Biloxi, Mississippi, opened my eyes in such a way where I realized, oh my gosh, what we do for a living can really save and change lives. This is it. This is what I want to do, because I moved to Biloxi about a week before Katrina hit. Those who know Hurricane Katrina was a Category 5 storm. It wiped out so many homes, across the beachfront, as well as, took lives. And
Mhm.
I remember all of the national media you could think of and imagine, they were there in
Mhm.
Biloxi, Mississippi, in some cases in my newsroom. And I
Mhm.
got to, very early on in my career, I got to watch them in action, like, wow, this is what I get to do. And it's just little things. Like, we were able to tell people critical information, like where they can go get water, where they can get food, where they can get gas, because after a major hurricane, everything shuts down, right?
Mhm.
And you
Mhm.
can imagine these people, some are sick and hurt, some no longer have homes. Where do we go? What do we do? And we were providing that critical information. And to be a part of that at such a young age, at such a young journalist, I was like, I was hooked, you know? So I remember my
Yeah.
husband before telling me, Keitha, you got to go. You have to leave the area. A hurricane's coming. I was like, no, I'm staying right here. I'm in this.
Mhm.
And I'm so
Mhm.
grateful that I did, because, again, it exposed me to the realities of this career. It can be difficult,
Yeah.
but it's a difficult task that I'm willing to take on, and I enjoy it.
Yep. Yep. Wow. Yeah. Embedded in your story are so many messages. I just wanted to ask you, your message to our SheSight viewers and our wider audience base, across the globe. What would you say to all the women out there?
Women in particular. So I feel like we all have challenges we have to deal with and face, but with us, our challenges are a bit unique. For those who are mothers in particular, it's kind of just like, even those who are not, we have extra challenges and pressures that are placed upon us, and sometimes it's important for you to just block out the noise, right?
Mhm.
Most
Mhm.
times it's important to do that, because we have so many different demands coming from different sides, different people telling us what to do, how to look, who to be. But it's so important to block out all of that noise, focus on who you are deep down inside, and stay true to that. Stay
Mhm.
true to who you are. Even so many images right now on social media, I fear for our young girls. That's what I think about most, like our teenage girls. I can imagine. Could you imagine? Because you and I are a bit older. Could you
Of course.
imagine growing up right now in this time as a teenager and being bombarded with all of these images of what's considered beautiful? And
Yeah.
social media is something on your cell phone. It's in front of all of us. Back in our time, it was just magazines, and you choose to pick that up. But
Right.
social media is right there in your face all day, every day. And you've seen these images like, that's what I'm supposed to look like. That's
Yeah.
what I'm supposed to wear.
Mm-hmm.
And that really scares me. It scares me so badly. So for women, for our young women, please stay true to who you are. Don't get sidetracked by all of the noise. And I know it's difficult, but you have to. Like, you are beautiful in your own right, and you don't worry about what the expectations of others. It doesn't matter. What matters is you staying true to your purpose and who you are, and just block out all the noise. That's my message. Just block out the noise.
That's a very appropriate and meaningful message to our young girls, definitely, and to other women, of course, across the board, because we can't match that perfect model created on the poster through computer programming and
Yeah.
other,
And now they're computer generated. AI is another thing that kind of
of
scares the
course.
bejesus out of me, because they're using these computer generated women, and people are trying to live up to those standards. You can't. They're not real.
They're not real. That's true.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not real. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Keitha. It's been wonderful chatting with you. And, we might come back for more for sure. It just feels like, we can continue this conversation. Thank you so much for taking out the time to talk to us.
Of
Thank you.
course, this was fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.